Welcome back, everyone. Got another video. This one's going to be on Southern Kennel's Grand Champion Mayday. Comes from suggested by my friend Nino. Uh, Nothing intended or meant for any legal purposes. All history and knowledge, experience, all from the past. Now, most people know, if you haven't heard of Mayday, then I don't know, you've been under a rock or something. But it's one of the most celebrated dogs in my time and even after my time. Came from a very good litter, a prominent stud, a grand champion, meaning he won 5. Some of his siblings were Southern Kennel's Champion Choice, Champion Dragon Lady, Madonna, one-time winner, Hollingsworth Queen, and Sugarfoot. You'll see those dogs in different pedigrees, and I think Mayday and Dragon Lady are the ones most talked about, but it's a very successful litter. He was a great producer. There's several pages of all the offspring he produced, and I'll mention some of his more notable offspring. Probably his most famous son was STP's Grand Champion Luke Kane. One of his most noted daughters was Going Hard Kennel's Champion Debrat. Another one, Pro Set's Champion Mayday. Southern Kennel's Champion Sally was another one. And Southern Kennel Bruno. Gina Boy's Champion Chanel, Southern Kennel Voodoo and Hot Stuff, HOE's Champion Cock Diesel and Champion Amos Moses. There's several offspring, and he was bred to any which way you can imagine: outcrossed, line bred, inbred. The Grand Champion Buck stuff mixed with the Mayday is good. It crosses with almost anything. In fact, his top side, the Red Boy Jocko stuff, was crossed with, you name it, Eli, Jeep, even line bred and inbred, back to the Red Boy and Jocko stuff. His bottom side, which is he's basically called Red Boy Jocko Boleo Tombstone kind of breeding. And as far as his record goes, you can read about it and it's mentioned. I'm just going off of memory. I wrote some notes down, but most of it is from my memory. And a lot of the stuff I talk about, I have to have some kind of relationship or knowledge with the dog or the blood or something. And I have seen Mayday bred dogs. I didn't see anything right off of him, but down off of him. And a lot of times you can, like a lot of bloodlines, you can tell how they're bred just by the way they look, or at least they have some of that blood in them. And there's questions, you hear it all the time. He's bred to this, and they threw something else in there. I don't see it myself. If they did, they didn't mention it. It's supposed to have hound or mastiff or something like that. You see pictures of Mayday when he's younger, he looks like a pit bull. A lot of the pictures and the dogs change as they get older, plus they have more weight on them, so he has a lot of loose skin. But when he was young, I have pictures of him in condition. He didn't have all that loose skin, but he did resemble, and he looks like he stands taller than he did because he's in shape and he's younger. As he gets older, and the Mayday dogs, the ones I'm familiar with, they were kind of short and stocky, but thick boned, long bodied. Not long heads, but not squared up heads either. Some of them have full drop ears, half drop, and believe it or not, a lot of dogs have those type of ears. A lot of the Eli dogs have them, Bully Son dogs have them. We call them hound dog ears because they just come straight down. And but he had a pretty damn good pit record too. His first match, he beat LSK and DL's High Voltage, who was a 2-time winner. That was a catch weight, and he was a big dog, something like 68 to 70 pounds on the chain, high 50s to mid 60s, or even high 60s at his pit weight. So he was a big dog. Like I said, he beat High Voltage, was a 2-time winner. That was a catch weight. Voltage weighed 67. Mayday weighed 59 pounds. That one went 35 minutes. His second was against Soulman and Plumber Dave's Big Red, another 2-time winner. He won in 37 minutes. His third match was against Gator Boy's Pete Jr., who was reportedly a 4-time winner, 60 pounds, and he won that in 29 minutes. Fourth was over Big Dust champion Buddha, who was reportedly a 6-time winner. That one was at 65 pounds, and Mayday won in 1 hour and 5 minutes. And then after some back and forth and this and that, I'll get into it a little bit, he beat Terrence Cody at 65 pound catch weight. He weighed, that was a catch weight fight. He won in 1 hour and 3 minutes. And if you talk to the people that knew him, or people that saw him and saw the matches and talk about his career, he went through a lot, how would you put it? He had to go through a lot, meaning he took a lot of damage, got bones broke. His last match, there was some runaround or something, some back and forth, where they forfeited and came back and this and that. I forget exactly what happened, but they ended up doing the match 4 or 5 days after it was supposed to happen. So Cody was heavier than what the match was set at. Mayday, because he had to travel, come back home, travel again, was actually underweight. And people I talked to, he didn't look right. He was down in weight, and just the odds stacked against him. But he eventually pulled it off and won in 1 hour and 3. And people speak about his durability, his ability to take punishment, his mouth. He had good finish, go to the throat, shoulders, even go to the back end. And you see that because of the way his bloodline is mixed up. You see all different styles within his bloodline. If you want to talk about intelligence, because he would fight the muzzle, the head, the throat, like a lot of the Bolio dogs do. He was tough and durable, like a lot of the Red Boy dogs are, and the Tombstone Red Baby dogs are, right? Scream in the corner, hard scratching, take a lot of punishment, had good mouth like the Jocko dogs do, or even the Red Boy Jocko combo produced that. So even though he was a big dog, and here's something that started happening too, because in my day and before that, there's always been big dogs. There just wasn't a lot of them. And because of Mayday and other dogs, even the alligator stuff, even some of the Bully Sun stuff, the dogs started coming out bigger. And in my day and before, some of them were good quality, some of them were not good quality. But I think what Mayday did by adding that size is still produced dogs. It produced dogs that were big, but the quality also improved, meaning where fast action and good dogs was generally relegated to smaller weight dogs. Now we have an era coming into the future where you have big dogs with those same qualities. Just as good action-wise, style-wise, performance-wise, ability-wise, gameness-wise as the smaller dogs previously. Not saying that there weren't, but you didn't see a lot of them. Now in this new era, you see more of these big dogs coming out that were of quality. And it's a combination, the outcrossing and the blood they come from and all these different factors. But I think with the big dogs, and Mayday is part of it, not just him, but he's part of it, bringing into this new era bigger dogs that were better, put it that way. So I'll go through some of his pedigrees. some of the dogs in his pedigree. He was sired by Tance Grand Champion Yellow, 6-time winner, ROM himself. Hollingsworth Dolly was his dam. She's a ROM. And this is basically Red Boy, Jocko, Boleo, Tombstone, Red Baby. That's the way I would look at it, right? Yellow was sired by Tance Yellow John, an inbred Red Boy dog. Yellow John was 3 times Red Boy. Red Boy bred to a female, take a female out of that, breed it back to Red Boy, take a female out of that, breed it back to Red Boy. That's what produced Champion Yellow John. And the similar breeding was made that produced Jacob's Champion Hog Dog. And again, if you're familiar with the blood, you can inbreed Red Boy dogs to a greater degree than some other bloodlines, and they still be good dogs. So Yellow John was heavily inbred, also a 4-time winner, good producer, ROM, inbred Red Boy, bred to an inbred Jocko bitch, Tance Miss Jocko, who was a 2-time winner. She's an ROM also, and she was inbred being Jocko bred to Lady Rose, who was a daughter of Jocko, and Lady Sassy Mead. That's what produced Miss Jocko. So it's inbred Red Boy on the top, inbred Jocko on the bottom. Breed that together. That's where you get Tance Grand Champion Yellow, who is the sire of Mayday. On the bottom side, you have Hollingsworth Dolly, his dam. Her sire was Browning's Yazoo Cody. A lot of people say that was the key stuff in making Dolly and other dogs bred similar to her. Dolly was out of Patrick's Lady in Red. Yazoo Cody's out of A&M's Champion Red Dog, and Browning's Yazoo Reba. Lady in Red was out of Little Tater and Anderson's Rose. And I had a Mayday video. I don't know what happened to it, or it's still up, but this one's a little bit more complete, because that I just kind of centered on Mayday's bottom side, Yazoo Cody, what it goes back to, because I was familiar with those dogs. And that's where you have, on the bottom side, you have Boleo on both the top and bottom side of Hollingsworth Dolly. Yazoo Cody, AM's Red Dog out of Yazoo Reba, goes back to some of the earliest Boleo breedings were made, and they were done by Indian Sunny, where you see Hooks Rowdy, 6-time winner, Bull, H&H Kennel's Bull. You have, what was her name? A little female. What was her name? Anyways, Mexican Dan had her. But it was all that blood, and it's basically a Boleo, Corvino, Eli cross, Eli Jr. cross. Those are some old dogs. That's going back to the late 70s. And most of that stuff was kept there, but I don't know how, A&M got the blood, but that's where it came from. And the Corvino stuff was some of the last stuff that, besides what Sorrells had, and besides what the Divines had, Corvino's Teddy and that kind of stuff. Sorrells liked the Corvino stuff. These are people out west, and Indian Sunny did too. They both incorporated it. And Sunny ended up breeding daughters of Boleo to the Corvino stuff, and Boleo himself to the Corvino stuff. So you have that Boleo Corvino breeding, then he took daughters of Eli Jr., bred it to that. That's what produced Rowdy and Bull and dogs like that. You take that stuff, they took that stuff and bred it more into the Boleo Klaus stuff through Boney Maroney, Little Tater, right? So it's actually the Browning's Yazoo Cody, which is Dolly's sire, is more heavy on the Boleo side. And then you have those crosses of the Cordovino and the Klaus and then they took that stuff, bred it to the little Tater and Anderson's Rose stuff, which is more Boleo, Klaus through Red Baby and Tombstone. So you have a kind of mix, and people call it scatterbreed. It's not. It's not. There's a lot of commonalities, especially with the Boleo stuff on the bottom side going back, and then you have the stuff that crosses good with it, which is Klaus and the Tombstone heavy Dibo blood, right? And you see the heavy Dibo blood also in the Jocko blood to the Mayfield stuff. So you have that commonality of Dibo. And then, of course, with the Red Boy, you have the Colby stuff, Colby Dibo. It works, regardless of what Red Boy is, because there's controversy about that. It's all over the place. Everybody talks about it. To me, it didn't matter. The fact that he could produce, the fact that his offspring could produce, the fact that you could inbreed him and produce, still have quality dogs, competition dogs. Champion Britches was a 4-time winner. There's Feather, and there's Venus and Rattler, and a lot of different dogs. Heavy Red Boy dogs that were competed with and produced dogs. And of course you have the Jocko stuff. Again, it was used as a cross. It was used inbred. Jocko's litter was successful. He was a 4-time winner. His brother Champion Argo was a 4-time winner, 1-time loser. Their sister Apple was a 2-time winner. I think she lost to Molly B. And you have all these dogs, the Red Boy and the Jocko, in the hotbed of the Carolinas, all competing. And you also have the Lapase stuff out there, and you have Zebo stuff out there, Lapase Buster and Bullet and all that stuff. You also have in that area they used some of the stuff that Tyrone came down from, the Carver stuff. Champion, what the heck was his name? I forget. I'm sorry. Paladin. There you go. That stuff. And I'm sure whether it's on paper or not, people, when you have dogs in the same area, they're going to mix together. Whether as rivals and you want somebody's blood, or as friends and you want somebody's blood, or because they're available and you want that blood, you want to try it together. That's why you'll see in some of these Red Boy Jocko dogs, you'll see some Zebo in there, or you'll see some Grand Champion Angus in there, like what the twins used. And you see the Paladin stuff used. You see the Lapase's Buster used. So we know not all pedigrees are correct, but we also have to take into account if dogs are in your area, whether you or someone else that lives in that area use them, they're going to get used. They're going to get bred to each other. That's just the way it works. Generally, you breed to dogs that are closest to you, and whether you tell somebody about what you have or not is true or not, it's done. And there's a lot of surrounding areas to the Carolinas, like the Virginias, and you start going up north to New York and Washington D.C., and you come out a little bit west and you have the Kentucky area and Tennessee and stuff. So they spread out, and that's how dogs usually spread out, is first within their circle, then the surrounding areas, and then all over the place. And the Mayday stuff was certainly sent all over the world. You see it behind Champion, what was his name? I saw a dog named Champion Black who had the Croata blood in it, so you see Mayday in the Croata stuff. You see Mayday even going down to Mexico. a couple of times. One guy went down there with 8 dogs, and they were all that Mayday blood bred. He had 8 matches all on the same show, and it was a big show. There was probably, I don't know, 12 or 13, 14 matches, 8 of them with one person. And all that blood, they were in good shape, they were tough, durable, rugged. He ended up winning 3, losing 4, and had 1 draw in an hour and a half. And all the dogs looked similar, all the dogs fought similar, they were in good shape, and like I said, they all showed durability and toughness, ruggedness. It's kind of like what they did with the Boleo dog. Sometimes if you inbreed the Boleo dog, they can come out thin bone. So to counter that, that's where you get the Tombstone Red Baby stuff. You have the Boleo Klaus with the Red Baby, bred to the Tombstone, heavy Daibo, thicker bone, you know, the Tonka Bloods, Champion Snubby and Crash, and you know, or you have Champion Kramer, which is Boleo, bred to more of the heavier Carver stuff, and it increases the bone size. So that's what people would do. Some of them would use the Mayday stuff to increase bone size, to increase durability, ruggedness, toughness. Cross them right, and even on their own, they have good mouth. And because he has those bloodlines in him, I think that's why Mayday had good ability, hard mouth, and he can throw it. Some of them don't have that. You know, some of them are just tough, durable, rugged. They have to go distance, but because the Red Boy dogs are known for going distance, and a lot of those dogs were 2-3 hour dogs, they can do that. With the Jocko influence in there, they don't have to go the distance. They didn't have to. A lot of them were short fights, 20, 30 minutes, like that. So in my opinion, when you're putting your dogs together, everybody likes a short order cook, there's no doubt. They love the hard mouth, there's no doubt. But you always had to be ready, at least in my day, if you had to go distance, that you were able to do it. And even if you're a hard-mouthed dog, even if you had a dog that was considered a bone crusher, sometimes they had to go distance because the styles cancel each other out. Now the dogs are tough and durable, they can take it. There wasn't a lot of bleeding, even though there was a lot of damage. If you can put that in your head and figure that out, how does that happen? Well, it does. All has to do with conditioning and nutrients and all that stuff. So people saw that in the Mayday dogs, and they ran with it. Another thing is they were popular, they were available. A lot of dogs, you know, you can't just go out and get. Mayday dogs were readily available, and that's one of the reasons. But you can't just have dogs readily available and popular. If they're not any good, they're going to lose their availability because they're going to stop breeding them, and they're going to lose their popularity because nobody wants them. That's the same with the Eli dogs, the same with the Jeep dogs, same with the Red Boy dogs. Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah, they bred the crap out of them. There's a ton of them. But if they weren't good, people wouldn't be using it. And that's where you get the longevity. Over years and years, sometimes decades, people still retain that blood, still using that blood. So the Mayday blood hasn't run out, and there's a good reason for that. They make good show dogs, they make good weight pull dogs, they make good catch dogs, especially if you have one that's a good dog and he has some size to it. You can hunt a hog that's any size, 100, 200, 300 pounds with Mayday catch dogs. You can. It's just a size factor. And I've seen them do that too. I went on a hog hunt. And like I said, I don't really know how the dog was bred. And he asked if he has some of that Mayday stuff, but he looked like a Mayday dog. And he was big. He was around 50 pounds. So he could handle a 200-pound hog by himself. And he did. So there's a lot of different factors on why people use bloodlines, why they're popular, why there's longevity in them. And if the pluses outweigh the negatives, the blood's going to stick around. And even with individual breeders, you may have someone who has similar blood to yours. If they're not culling properly, if they're not breeding properly, if they're not maintaining quality, He could have similar blood to you have, whether it's Mayday or anything else. His dogs aren't that good, and yours have been kept steady and straight and true and quality over years and years. That's with any bloodline. So it's like anything. Some people like them, some don't like them. I never had it, but the Red Boy Jocko stuff was incorporated into my blood later on, after I got out of dogs and my friend got them. So he used it, and that's another thing. It was basically a Eli Red Boy Jocko breeding. Worked. Good dogs. I seen several of them back in the day. They were tough and smart. That's the one thing about them. It increased the intelligence in them. Because from what I read and what I understand and what I've seen, they're smart too. They're not just dumb plugs, you know. I saw a little female, and she lost, but you could tell she was a 2-time winner. She lost to a badass bitch. She was a Mayday bred dog. Rough, smart. The bitch they put on her, Daisy, was just too much for her. She was just a whirlwind, man. Too fast. Daisy hit her in the shoulder. That Mayday bitch locked on her muzzle, and they just went at it. Didn't go long, only went 22 minutes. But it wasn't a blowout in the sense that where the Mayday bitch just kind of laid out and just got whooped. She was trying as hard as she could. She just had too much on her. She was a good bitch, but got outclassed. Like I said, I saw Champion Black. I saw him win his third. He had Mayday blood in him. He won his third over a kind of a Boyles type bred dog. I think it was some Voodoo blood, Voodoo Junior or something. Went 2 hours and 17 minutes. And that's what I mean. You got to be able to go some time, even with the same dog. Could be, they had 2 or 3 even more short fights, and then boom. For whatever reason, under whatever circumstances, they have to go some time. I saw Champion Khaleesi do that. 2 quick wins, and her championship went over well over 2 hours. It happens. So you got to have the dogs to do that. That durability, bone structure, thick skin, pliable skin, toughness, constitution, allows you to do that, along with the proper conditioning that you put into the dog that can help you do that. And again, like I always say, all that applies to today's times with the legal sports. You have to be tough and durable and have endurance to weight pull all day long, or do 10, 15, whatever wall climbs, you know. Tug of war, you need strength. You need power. You need endurance, because in legal sports, the competition is repeated over and over throughout the day, depending on how many are involved in the competition. Sometimes there's dozens of dogs, or a dozen dogs, or 2 dozen, or 3 dozen all through the day. I've been in Mexico where they start in the morning and they're weight pulling into the wee hours of the next day, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Doesn't end. So your dog's got to be tough and durable to do that too. But this is a little tribute to the Mayday blood. It deserves its place in history. It's a popular blood, and rightly so. Hope you guys enjoy the vid, and thanks for the suggestion and everything else, Nino. Much respect.